What's up, guys? Good evening and welcome to Roma Theory. Bologna 1, Roma 1. First leg over in this round of 16. I'll take it. I will take it. There's a very big concept that I think must be repeated. Oops. Okay. I'm unmuted now. First leg done. Bologna 1, Roma 1. I will take it. I will massively take this result. I think I would have signed for a draw at the beginning of the game. Going into this game, I would have signed for a draw in the first leg and then bring it back at home and trying to turn it around with the power of the Stadio Olimpico in a European knockout stage, with the power of us turning that stadium into hell. I believe in us, and this is a good result. There is a very big concept that I think must be repeated to ourselves and to this team at this stage of the season. This is a concept that I introduced a few weeks ago in a match reaction. I can't remember what match reaction it was. We need to resist. From now until the end of the season, we need to resist, because this is who we are and this is what we have. Our team is extremely decimated, to the extent that we are in such an injury emergency that some things you can no longer control, which is why in certain games, the performance won't be there, because this is who we are. Now, look at the bench that we had today. Look at the bench that we had today. And I'm like, how is it possible for us to go further in both competitions? It's not possible. It is not possible. So we will, I think, after Sunday, and after seeing what Sunday's result brings, you need to choose your path. Because this team cannot go and acquire and achieve its objectives on both the two fronts. This is who we are. Now, I had this debate. I had this debate with my friend who came over and watched the game, and he insisted that the lineup that Roma started today was better than Bologna's one. And I'm like, no, you're absolutely drunk. Bologna's team starting today is way better than your team. So many of their players would start in your team. There are players in our team that started today that are not good enough, but they're giving it their best because of the situation that we're living. So I would call this, this for me is a golden, it's not a point because it's a knockout stage, but I would have definitely signed for a draw. I would have definitely signed for a draw. I kind of said this in the match preview. To me, it's like we're living in an infinite loop. And the issue with this infinite loop and why we can't get out of this infinite loop, for me, is very clear. For me, it's the fact that every season, in the key stage of the season, you're completely slammed by injuries, and that for me is the biggest problem, because now to compete in modern football, especially in European competitions, you need a good squad depth. And if you want to go if you want to go far in all competitions that you have, you need to have at least 15, 16, 17 players that can rotate each other with no problems. And unfortunately, you don't have that, because you've got a core of 11 good players. Half of them are injured, half of them are always injured. And then you've adopted a project that unfortunately doesn't allow instant impact. So all the players that you bought in January, aside from Malen, are not players that are ready to make an instant impact. And I've been saying this ever since we signed them. Vaz is not ready. And people say, he will only be ready if he plays games. Absolutely, I absolutely agree. But these are not the games that Vaz needs to play. Zaragoza again, I'm not convinced. I won't let myself be convinced after seeing him for 2 games straight. But from what I've seen, I'm not convinced. So look, this is who we are. And this is who we will probably be until the end of the season. Sule will come back in a bit. Will he be fit? I'm not sure. Mancini was suspended today, absolutely. But the rest will be out. Kone was injured today. Like, there is a problem, which is the problem as to why it feels to us that we're always living this infinite loop is because every fucking season, around mid-March, we get slammed by injuries. And you were forced to play with an extremely restricted squad, with an incredibly weak squad depth. And you will see that the players that played today will play on Sunday against Como, will play next Thursday against Bologna, and you will get to April that these players are exhausted. And you will get to the beginning of April where you will have to make the decision, where you will have to choose your fate. And that, if you're still in Europe, of course, where you will be, do I go all in the Europa League, or do I go all in the Serie A? Because you don't have a team that can go well on both. And this is why we've missed out on the Champions League for so many years. I'm convinced about this. And I have developed this theory, especially over the course of these last few days, because I am seeing that this is our biggest problem. Our biggest problem is this. Our biggest problem is that our team is constructed around injury-prone players, on players that you cannot rely on. So you will get to a point in a few weeks where the decision, if you're still in Europe, of course, fingers crossed, well, you will make that decision. And where it won't be possible to not make that decision. It will not be possible for you to choose both. Okay? You will have to choose in a bit. Okay, speaking about the game and speaking about the tie in general, I think today's game, I was expecting this game. I was expecting this game in a sense. I was expecting a close game in the first half because the teams know each other. The teams need to study each other, and they know that they've got an entire other 90 minutes to be played at the Stadio Olimpico. In fact, I mean, to say everything like it is, I definitely expected Bologna to be the team that tried the most today, because they know that, you know, the second leg in a European tie at the Stadio Olimpico is not easy. It's not easy for anyone, no matter who you're playing. So they know, and they knew that a lot of their qualification came from today. So I definitely expected a Bologna side that was way more interested in scoring goals than you. I think the draw is fair at the end of the day. We had our chances, they had their chances. But as Gasperini said post-game, I think this was a very physical game. It was probably, as expected, the least European game of all, being an Italian derby. It was kind of a European game based on Italian football. So very physical, defensive in a way, yes. But, you know, a lot of long balls, high press, clearing that press with a long ball, clearing the ball away. I think Gasperini's happy with this result. I cannot, honestly, I don't think anyone should not be happy, because this team has got too many limits that you need to resist. We've got to the stage of the season where every moment will influence your season, every little detail will influence your season. So the fact that we even got back into this game and didn't lose in the first leg away from home, for me is important. And I'll definitely give credit to the team for reacting. A great second goal that comes from a good interception from Cristante, a great movement from Malen, and then Pellegrini scores a tap in. Good for him. And then the game ends 1-1. They hit a crossbar with Svilor making a bit of a mistake coming out in that cross. And then we hit two posts, right? Malen hit the post twice. So again, we had a shot. We could have won this game. We could have definitely won this game. But for me, the negative side of this game for me is El Anawi didn't play a good game one bit. Not a good game from him. And then for me, it's that connection towards Malen which without Sule or Dybala, and not today wasn't the case, but for instance that Genoa game on Sunday, and without Wesley, it's even worse. I think Wesley, Wesley today, I've definitely seen better performances from Wesley, but games like this prove why Wesley is arguably the best, and not the best, but the most important player in this team. But what I was referring back to is, what I'm worried is that there is clearly, there is clearly a lack of momentum in the past few games, and it's very evident. That Juventus game did something to these players, whether you agree with the theory or not. It did, because in the Genoa game and today I'm not complaining, but you didn't play a good game. You played an expected game. This is what you had to do. This game was always going to be a scrappy, dirty game, like any first tie of any European leg. So I'm not complaining about this, but there has been an evident crash in these last few games that needs to be sorted out. Now again, it's going to be hard because these players will have to play every week until most of the players are back. But I was looking at our bench today. In this Bologna game. Guys, this bench, not even Pisa has this bench. Pellegrini, Tsimikas, Hermoso, Robinho, Vaz, Ziolkowski, De Marzi, El Shaarawy, Gollini. That's our bench. That is our bench. So you understand that unless a miracle happens and the injured players, aside from Kone, which is not serious, are back, there are going to be problems. Because the same players will have to play every single game. So, yeah, but no, sorry, going back to what I was saying before, without confusing myself, is that I'm worried about two things. Number one, this little crash down moment that we're having needs to be sorted out, starting on Sunday. And then, because Sunday and then Thursday, again, will determine your season in one way or another. And the other thing that I'm worried about in the long term, until Sule and Dybala are back, is this connection towards Malen. Now, Malen has a very good characteristic, which is he's got an incredible ability of creating chances by himself. Something that, for instance, if Dovbyk and Ferguson had to play with Zaragoza and Robinho, Vaz behind them, they would never touch the ball. Malen, in fact, I think the best characteristic that Malen has is that he's got this incredible rapidity of collecting balls and providing chances by himself, shooting the ball, dribbling. He does it very well. But, ultimately you can't expect Malen to do this in every game and score because he ain't Maradona. So he will need levels of support. And my big worry here is that with all of these players injured, the support towards Malen will decrease. Because up to now, at least, I'm not rating Malen's support. Because up to now, I'm not rating Zaragoza. Because up to now, I'm not rating Robinho Vaz. But I want to rephrase this. It's not because I don't think he's a good player. It's because he's not ready. And I'm not rating Pellegrini this season. And a tap and goal is not changing my opinion. So, you get my point. I think it's very important that you didn't lose this game. Bring it back. It's going to be hell next Thursday. And looking at other results, Villa won in France. So Villa are almost through. Betis lost away in Athens to Panathinaikos. And Porto won in Germany against Stuttgart. This game confirmed that our Europa League will end with Aston Villa. Well, look, I don't think it's fair to add the pessimism now. As I said, we're in this stage of the season where you will less and less be able to control factors. I think from now until the end of the season, especially now that our team is incredibly decimated by injuries, there's not much that you can control. Like, these players need to give it their best, and that's the only thing that you can control, giving it your best. Then what you achieve or what you not achieve, that's something that the pitch will determine. But if there's one factor that you can control, is the willingness that you put in every game. In fact, I think that's the only thing that you can control. Because I even think that with a decimated team like we currently have, even tactically, there's not much you can do, because a lot of these players, for me, are not tactically good players. They're not technically good players. So, Chilik today against Rowe. Chilik made Rowe look like fucking Robin tonight. And that's not possible. And that happens because Chilik is not technically good enough. Bernardeschi today. Who the fuck was marking Bernardeschi? So these are all things that you add together in the cauldron and go, it's tough, but you need to resist. Again, I've given this analogy before. I will give this analogy again. The analogy now is that you're getting attacked. You're in a war, you're in a battlefield, you're under pressure, you're getting attacked. So you either give up and go, well, I can't do this anymore, shoot me. Or you go, no, I need to try and give it my best. And the only factor that you can control in this giving your best is not giving up. Anything else, you've got a weaker army, you've got weaker weapons. These are things that you can't control. And it's the same thing. The only thing that you can control is the desire that you put in every game. And that is what I'm hooking myself on. Because I can't hook myself on tactical and technical elements. Because if you remove Dybala, if you remove Soulé, if you remove Kone, the technique in this team falls apart. So I can't hook myself on a technical side of things. I can't hook myself on a squad depth point of things. The only thing that I can hook myself on to not die is the desire that I put in every game. And this is what will keep us alive until the end of the season. Because if it wasn't for this, we'd already have lost this war. And it's this that must keep us going, that needs to keep us going. At least until the majority of players are back, but that's not anytime soon. So step by step, every game is a war, every game is a battle. And as I said in the match preview, calculations will be made at the end. Mathematical calculations will be made at the end. Whoever we face, we face. We've got Como on Sunday, incredibly complicated game. I would even argue that, I would argue that a lot of players, well, not a lot, but you need to try and invent something in terms of rotations on Sunday, because Thursday's game is more important than Sunday's. We need that. We need that quarterfinal. We need it. Whether we will face Villa and crash out, that's something that you look at the end. We need that quarterfinal, and we need to give it our best in this Europa League. But yeah, look, I'll catch you tomorrow with the Como match preview. One game down, another one now. Look, it's games after games after games, so we won't stop 1 second. Okay, let me read a few comments. This shows even when Soulé is not in his best form how important he is for the team offensively. Are there any reports about Soulé maybe being able to come back? Well, I'm not sure. We'll look at injury reports when looking at the Como game tomorrow to see if we've got any updates. I want to see what Gasperini said post-game to maybe even clarify what Kone had. I don't think it's major. I don't think it's serious, but he was out for today's game. Can Roma include Venturino? No, UEFA list is closed. You can have nobody. This is who you have in Europe. And this is you need to adapt yourself in Europe. Okay, I'll catch you tomorrow. Leave a like, subscribe. 100 likes on this video would be great. And share the link with your friends, families, with your Roma friends. Bring them along and I'll talk to you soon. Simo out.